As I said before, topic 3 consists of two parts. Now, we will look into the last part, which is unobtrusive method. At the end of this class, I hope you all will be able, first, to recognize the value of unobtrusive methods for information gathering. Second, to understand the concept of sampling for human information requirement analysis. Third, to construct useful samples of people, documents, and events for determining human information requirements. Fourth, to create and analyze play script to observe decision maker activities. And the last one, to apply the strobe technique to observe and interpret the decision maker's environment. Unobtrusive methods involve indirect data collection. It is a less disruptive method since the system analysts make no direct contact with the user. However, it is insufficient to use it alone, and you need to have multiple approaches if you plan to conduct this method. Thus, I advise you to mix it with interactive methods in order to have quality finding. There are three common approaches of unobtrusive methods, namely sampling, investigation, and observation. We will look in depth each method in the next slide. Let's look at the sampling first. But the main thing that you need to know about the sampling is types of sampling. Sampling is a process to select a population. Population can be defined as a group of individuals who have a common characteristic. Before that, you need to justify what exactly you want to examine and who the people you want to consider. We need to conduct sampling in order to decrease cost and time spent for data collection and at the same time reduce bias since the population that we have is significant to our project. There are several steps to conduct sampling. First, you need to determine the data that you want to gather. Second, you need to determine the population to be chosen for your project. Third, choose sampling types that are significant with your type of data and population. Lastly, decide the number of samples that will be involved in your project through calculation. As I said just now, the number of samples can be determined through calculation. The mathematical formula to calculate the minimum sample size as in the slide. You also can refer to the example to calculate sample size in the slide number 8 and slide number 9. There are four main types of samples which are convenience, simple random, purposive and complex random. Each type of sample can be divided into two categories as shown in the slide. First, either the sample based on probability or not. Second, either the sample has restrictions or without restrictions. Now, we will look into each of the sampling types in depth. First, convenience sampling is easy to arrange since sample elements are selected directly without any restrictions and not based on probability. Thus, it has become the most unreliable type compared to others. Second, simple random sampling selects a group of a sample from a larger group. Each individual is chosen entirely by chance, and each member of the population has an equal chance of being included in the sample. Next, purposive sampling is based on judgment, where this sampling chooses a group of individuals who appear knowledgeable and are interested in a new information system. However, this sampling is moderately reliable. Lastly, complex random sampling is probability sampling done with restricted sampling techniques. There are also called mixed sampling design as they tend to combine probability and non-probability sampling procedures during sample selection. The popular complex random sampling designs including systematic sampling, stratified sampling, and cluster sampling. Let's look at the second unobtrusive method, which is investigation. There are two main things that you need to know about the investigation, namely quantitative and qualitative. Investigation is the act of discovery and analysis of data. As system analyst, you need to understand users, organizations, and information requirements. Thus, it is important to examine different types of hard data, including quantitative and qualitative data. Now, we will look first at quantitative data. Quantitative data can be formed of any reports, records, forms, and transactions. The details and example of each quantitative document can be found in slide number 15 to slide number 18. Next is qualitative data. Qualitative data can be formed of any email messages, memos, signs on bulletin boards, web pages, procedure manuals, and policy handbooks. These documents are rich in details revealing the expectation for behavior of others that their writers hold and the way in which users expect to interact with information technologies. Let's look at the last unobtrusive method, which is observation. One main thing that you need to know about the observation is stroke. Observation provides insight on what organizational members actually do by seeing actual relationship between decision makers and other organizational members. Besides, it also can be used to reveal important clues regarding human-computer interaction concerns. PlayScript is an organized and systematic approach that demands the analyst be able to understand and articulate the action taken by each observed decision maker. This approach eventually assists the system analyst in determining what information is required for major or frequent decisions made by the observed people. In setting up a play script, the actor is listed in the left-hand column and all his or her actions are listed in the right-hand column as shown in the slide. All activities are recorded with action verbs so that a decision maker would be described as talking, sampling, corresponding, and deciding. The method for structured observation of the environment is referred as STROP. It is a technique for observing the decision maker's physical environment. It often is possible to observe the particulars of the surrounding that will confirm or deny the organizational narrative that is found through interviews and questionnaires. Successful application of STROP requires that an analyst clearly observe 7 concrete elements commonly found in offices. The 7 observable elements and some key questions that may arise are shown in the slide. These elements can reveal much about the way a decision maker gathers, processes, stores, and shares information, as well as about the decision maker's credibility in the workplace. Through the use of stroke, the system analyst can gain a better understanding of how managers gather, process, store, and use information. A summary of the characteristics exhibited by decision makers and the corresponding observable element is shown in the slide. One way to implement stroke is through the use of an anecdotal checklist with meaningful shorthand symbols. 5 shorthand symbols were used by the system analyst to evaluate how observation of the stroke elements compared with the organizational narrative generated through interviews. The details of 5 symbols as in the slide. Thank you guys. See you in the next class. Bye bye.